Sean Diddy Combs gave emotional testimony today in Combs' sex trafficking and racketeering trial. She claimed Combs assaulted her multiple times, and ABC's Rita Roy has the detail.
Mia claims that a toxic Diddy would throw things at her and once threw her against a wall and into a pool. She alleges that he slammed her against the door and assaulted her more than once.
She talks about one time when she saw Combs assaulting Ventura, that she and Deontay Nash jumped on his back, tried to stop it. She was thrown against the wall.
One of the most disturbing testimonies in the Sean Diddy Combs trial just hit the public like a freight train, and it's worse than anyone imagined. We finally know who Mia is. Well, kinda. This was after she took the stand, gave her full testimony, and the look on Diddy's face? Pissed, tight, sweaty, and for good reason. Because Mia didn't just tell her story without holding anything back. She exposed a whole RICO pattern, the nasty things she had to endure while working with Diddy, and all the traumatic experiences she chose not to tell anyone out of fear. But now, she is not scared anymore. Because of this, people are saying that this might be the testimony that could destroy Diddy's defense, which completely made Puff snap. Let's get into it. So here's the deal. The defense wants people to believe this whole case is just about messy relationships and jealousy. Diddy and Cassie were toxic lovers, and things got out of hand. This is the reason why they started painting Cassie as a willing participant during the first few weeks of the trial.
So as the defense questions the prosecution's star witness, we're asking, did Cassie willingly partake in the Freakoffs?
In case you missed it, Diddy's team presented old messages, suggesting that at one point in the relationship, Cassie was permitted to join the Freakoffs. Diddy's lawyer, Anna Estevao, pulled out messages from as far back as 2007, just months into Cassie and Diddy's relationship. And the tone? Shockingly affectionate. Cassie told Diddy she had never felt more safe, loved, and empowered. She even said, "In your arms, I feel safe and secure." Now listen, that might sound sweet, until you remember this is the same relationship where she later said she felt trapped and used like property. But the part that's really got people clutching pearls? The freak off texts. In one exchange, Diddy asked, "When do you want to freak off, LOL?" And Cassie responded, "I'm always ready to freak out, LOL." Diddy's team is waving those messages around like a trophy, saying, "See? It was all consensual." But prosecutors are pushing back hard. They say the relationship was deeply manipulative, and those messages? Proof of how brainwashed Cassie was after years of grooming. And let's not forget,
while on cross, one of the communications Cassie sent to Sean read, "I love our freak-offs when we both want it." She then explained to jurors, though, that loving freak-offs were just words at that point.
Cassie met Diddy when she was 19. He was 36. The power dynamic was real from the jump. It wasn't a level playing field. Because of this, prosecutors are saying that these texts show just how tangled that trauma bond really was, and at best, it does not even prove that Cassie was okay with everything. On top of that, they are saying this ain't even enough to prove that Diddy was not as bad as he is based on Cassie's lawsuit. So after that, people are waiting for some sort of backup. Something to strengthen the argument that Diddy is really the monster his alleged victim is accusing him of being. Well, this is where Mia's testimony comes into play. You see, Mia worked pretty closely with Diddy, and if what she said during her testimony is true, Diddy is in deep trouble. Because what Mia just dropped in court completely blows that narrative out of the water. Her story ties Diddy directly to racketeering, sexual coercion, forced trafficking, abuse of employees, and a whole criminal enterprise hidden in plain sight.
Diddy's former assistant Mia gave some of the most powerful and damning testimony that we've heard since Cassie took the stand. Mia pulled back the curtain and gave us a peek into what it was like working for Diddy. She described it as toxic and a nightmare.
Now, Mia is the former personal assistant and employee at Revolt Films, working for Diddy from 2009 to 2017. And the way she walked into that courtroom? She looked haunted. Based on court reporters, the lady looks like she doesn't even want to be there in the first place. She walked in wearing beige, her bangs down, eyes low, shaking like she was testifying against a dictator. That's how bad Puff's action affected her, and based on observations from people during the trial, Mia was terrified as if she were not facing a business mogul or an old boss. It was as if she were confronting a monster, and the minute she opened her mouth, it was all tears and whispers. But her words? Nuclear and heated. The weight of her testimony dropped like a massive brick of rock. And just imagine Diddy's reaction after hearing all the accusations against him. First bombshell allegation? Mia testified that Diddy SA'd her on multiple occasions during her 8-year employment. Now let's pause and take that in. This isn't someone who heard something or saw something. This is someone who lived it. And when she opened her mouth in court, she was barely audible, almost whispering, at times breaking down in tears. But when she spoke, the room froze. The first assault, she says, happened just months after she was hired. It was at the Plaza Hotel in New York City during Diddy's 40th birthday celebration. Mia says he asked her to come into the kitchen, told her to take 2 vodka shots. She took them, and she says they hit me kinda hard. Before she could make sense of it, he leaned in, kissed her, and put his hand up her dress right there against the wall. The next thing she remembers, she was in a different room, sitting in a chair. Sunlight is creeping in. That right there? Already a horror story, but it didn't stop. Another time, around 2009 or 2010, she says she was asleep in a bottom bunk bed inside his Los Angeles mansion. The door to her room? Unlocked. Because according to Diddy's house rules, employees weren't allowed to lock their doors. That's when he climbed on top of her and raped her. No warning, no chance to fight, just complete violation. And then, y'all, there's the closet incident. Mia said she was packing a bag in Diddy's bedroom closet, just doing her job, when he walked in, with his penis already out. She testified that he grabbed her head and forced her onto him. She never said yes. She never gave any kind of consent. In fact, she said something that'll stick with you forever. I couldn't tell him no, like about a sandwich. I couldn't tell him no about anything. There's no way I could tell him no. Phew. If that doesn't give you chills, I don't know what will. And listen, before anyone dares to question why she didn't report it to HR, she broke that down too, because HR at Combs Global wasn't there to help her. According to Mia, they were there to punish, not protect. She said she knew no one would believe her, and honestly, looking at how long this allegedly went unchecked, she probably wasn't wrong. This is the same industry that protects billionaires like Diddy at all costs. And Mia? She was just a young assistant trying to survive. She said she absolutely did not want to relive this in court. These were the most traumatizing experiences of her life. But she felt a moral obligation to come forward because when victims stay silent out of fear, abuse continues. When you're scared into silence, these things continue to happen to others, she said. And that's why this moment is so important, because Mia's testimony isn't just about what happened to her. It's about the pattern, the power, the intimidation, the system that Diddy allegedly used to control, silence, and violate not just romantic partners, but his employees too. This wasn't some bitter ex. This was a worker, a woman on his payroll, a woman expected to smile, obey, and disappear. And now, she's finally being heard. But if Mia's words are any indication of what's still to come, Diddy might be looking at the end of an era. Because this is no longer about just freak-offs or messy texts. This is about power, abuse, and finally, accountability. But wait, there's more, because Mia didn't just say Diddy assaulted her. She said he terrorized her, physically, emotionally, and psychologically, all while she was on his payroll. And the way she described her daily life working for him, y'all, it sounded like a real-life horror movie disguised as a luxury job.
She says her first day on the job, she worked for 24 hours straight. No sleep, no breaks. She says she had an idea of how tough it would be because she saw the TV show I Want to Work for Diddy. That's just scratching the surface. She said she went 5 days with no sleep because they were going from club appearances to traveling. And she says that led to a physical breakdown. She was hallucinating, crying uncontrollably.
Mia said Diddy would flip on her out of nowhere. One minute, she was his best friend, his right hand, his so-called partner. The next, he was screaming at her, calling her worthless and throwing things across the room. The way she put it, he treated her like a worthless piece of crap. Her words, not mine. One night in particular, this one's gonna stick with you, Diddy asked Mia to do something. But before she could get to it, she ran to her room really quickly to grab a tampon. A simple human thing. But when she told him she needed a minute to handle it, Diddy didn't just get annoyed. He launched into what Mia described as a humiliating rant in front of everyone. And when I say humiliating, I mean this grown man allegedly picked up a whole bowl of spaghetti and threw it at her. She ducked. I missed it. But the message? Loud and clear. Mia said she was so embarrassed and scared, she ran outside barefoot and hid in a bush. A bush, y'all. She finally found the courage to leave and check into a hotel that night, and that wasn't even the worst of it. In another moment of rage, Mia said Diddy got so mad about his Wi-Fi not working that he threw a whole computer at her head. Let me repeat that. A computer. At her head. Luckily, he missed. But again, the message? Crystal clear. Don't cross him, don't make excuses, don't breathe wrong. And still, she stayed. Why? Because she was stuck in his toxic wop, something she described as a workplace ruled by Diddy's unpredictable mood swings. She said the environment was chaotic and toxic, and every second of her job depended on whether Diddy was in a good mood or ready to snap. When Mia first interviewed for the job, she was 25 or 26. She came with the head of HR to meet Diddy at his apartment. But y'all, guess how he greeted them? In his underwear. Yes, underwear. At a professional interview. HR did the intro and dipped. And Mia, left alone in a room with a billionaire. That was her welcome to the job. From day one, it was chaos. Mia said she didn't sleep for her first 24 hours on the job. And later, she pulled 5-day shifts with 0 sleep, just surviving on extended release Adderall to keep up. Because guess what? Diddy didn't just expect her to answer emails or book travel. Nah, he had her doing everything from cracking his knuckles to writing scripts to literally handling his taxes. The jury was even shown a list Mia wrote back in 2011 of all her duties. And chilly, this list looked like it was made for a hostage, not an assistant. She had to protect him at all times and anticipate his needs, whims, and moods. 17,000 things at once? That was not a metaphor. That was her actual job description. And it gets worse. Mia said she wasn't even allowed to leave the house without his permission. Only security was allowed to lock their doors. Her safety? Not a priority. Her autonomy? Non-existent. And for a whole year. She said she was the only personal assistant. One person, doing all of that, living in fear, trying to survive each day without getting screamed at, hit, or worse. When asked how she felt during that time, Mia didn't say stressed. She didn't say overwhelmed. She said, I didn't have time to feel, but like, insane. Let that sink in. What Mia described wasn't just a bad job. It wasn't just burnout. It was psychological warfare in a mansion run by a man with power, money, and no one to answer to. And it doesn't stop there, because Mia also gave us the clearest window yet into what Cassie endured. And it's sickening.
The aftermath. Her own words, she said, I've seen him attack her, throw her to the ground, crack her head open, and chase her. She also said that Diddy controlled every aspect of her career, from when she worked, what music she released, what she wore, her hair, and her nails. As for Mia, she would have to send photos from the salon for Cassie's looks in order to get Diddy's approval. She said Diddy paid for Cassie's homes, cars, credit cards, and it was all under his company's name.
She testified about the night she thought Diddy was going to kill Cassie. She and celebrity stylist Deonte were there, and when Cassie and Diddy got into it at her apartment, Mia said Diddy picked Cassie up, and something in his eyes went black. No soul, just rage. She tried to stop him, but he wasn't even seeing her. He slammed Cassie's head into the corner of a bed frame. Blood everywhere. a deep gash. And how did Diddy respond? "Call the doctor," he said. "Tell him she was drunk and fell."
She said that's when she realized they were in big danger and said the bed had a wooden platform, and that's when Diddy grabbed her head and slammed it into the corner. She said Cassie's head started gushing, and that's when Diddy turned into the protector and was on survivor mode. He told Mia to call the doctor and say that Cassie was drunk and hit her head, and she said, "I did it because he told me to. I thought it was the only way to get her help."
He already had the plastic surgeon on standby. That's how often this happened. Now let's talk about this island trip that turned into a straight-up nightmare. According to Mia's testimony, in 2012, she, Cassie, and Diddy were on a trip to Turks and Caicos. Sounds luxurious, right? A tropical getaway with a billionaire? Nah, that wasn't a vacation. That was a crisis waiting to explode. And it did. Because one night in the middle of paradise, Cassie came bursting into Mia's room, screaming, panicked, breathless, in full survival mode.
It described a terrifying night in 2012 when she took a trip with Diddy and Cassie to Parrot Cay in Turks and Caicos. She said she was sleeping in her room when Cassie ran in screaming, waking her up in the middle of the night. Cassie was yelling, "You've got to help me, he's gonna unalive me," so the two barricaded the door with furniture, and Diddy was allegedly banging and screaming to be let in.
"He's going to kill me!" That's what Cassie allegedly yelled. Not, "He's angry," not, "We're fighting," but "He's going to kill me." Now, when someone runs into your room in the middle of the night in full-blown terror like that, that's not drama, that's dangerous. Mia said she immediately jumped up, trying to figure out how to help Cassie, and the only plan they could come up with? Escape, on paddle boards. Y'all, let's be very clear here. These two women were so afraid of what Diddy might do, they literally grabbed paddle boards in the middle of the night and tried to escape by sea. By sea. That's how desperate they were. Mia said Diddy was back on the beach, screaming at them from the shore. The man was yelling into the night while these women tried to outrun him on water. Like, you can't make this up. But things got worse. The skies started turning dark, the ocean got choppy, and they had to make a decision. Is it scarier to face Mother Nature or go back to Puff? And they turned around. Just imagine being in such a horrific situation where paddling into the unknown ocean at night still seemed safer than staying on land with your partner. But ultimately, they came back, because that's how much power and fear Diddy allegedly had over them. And through all of this, Mia said she never saw Cassie fight back. Never. No screaming, no scratching, no swinging. Just arms up, trying to shield herself, trying to survive. And if you're wondering, why didn't they call the police? Mia already answered that in court, saying, "I believed Puff's authority was above the police." Let that sink in. She didn't believe help would come. She didn't believe the law could touch him, because confidentiality was the most important thing to Diddy. Her job was to protect him, not herself, not Cassie, not the truth. That level of control? That's not a relationship. That's a regime. So while Diddy's team keeps trying to paint these stories as complicated love or rough patches in a relationship, Mia's testimony tells a very different story. This wasn't jealousy. This wasn't toxic. This was terror. These women weren't just trying to leave a man. They were trying to survive one. And as the jury listens to every harrowing detail, one thing's becoming crystal clear. This wasn't just a toxic romance gone wrong. And unlike what Diddy's team is trying to do, Mia is making sure to let everyone know that this whole mess is more than just an isolated case. This was a cage. And Mia's finally opening the door. Now let's swing it back to Deontay. Celebrity stylist, courtroom MVP, and low-key fashion assassin. When I tell you he walked in with his head held high, folded jeans, Rick Owens jacket, serving face and facts, he didn't just testify, y'all. He gave a masterclass in holding it together under pressure while the defense scrambled to keep up. So here's what happened. Diddy's defense attorney, Xavier Donaldson, thought he had a gotcha moment. He questioned Deontay about a situation during New Year's 2016 to 2017 when Diddy allegedly invited another man into a hotel room that Cassie and Deontay were in. Deontay testified earlier that he left the room after Cassie told him Diddy wanted another man to come over. The defense was trying to say, if you were really concerned about Deontay Cassie's safety, why did you leave? And what did Deontay say? I always did. That shut it all the way down. That's not the kind of answer you throw out unless you mean it. That's an answer soaked in years of watching the nasty things Diddy did for years, of biting your tongue, of fearing that saying the wrong thing or staying too long could get you hurt too, and Deontay made it very clear. He may not have had the power to protect Cassie the way she deserved, but he always knew something was wrong. But Deontay wasn't done. He went further, telling the court that Diddy was the one cheating, not Cassie. While the defense tried to paint her as a jealous, unstable girlfriend who was just mad Diddy moved on, Deontay reminded everyone that Diddy was out here wildin' with Gina Hoyne. And Cassie? She was the one dealing with the chaos, the manipulation, and the threats. And let's be real, this is what really hit home. Deontay revealed that Diddy allegedly threatened to release explicit videos of Cassie to her parents' workplaces. Like, imagine that level of control, of malice. He didn't just want to humiliate her, he wanted to destroy her world, destroy her family's peace. Deontay said it loud and clear. Diddy threatened to send revenge tapes straight to her mom and dad's jobs. Sick. And the defense? They were scrambling, trying to catch Deontay in contradictions, trying to shake him. But Deontay stood firm, calm, confident, and completely unbothered. And let me just say, it's not every day you see a witness get under a billionaire's skin, but Diddy was visibly irritated during Deontay's testimony. People in the courtroom said Diddy was fuming, pacing, shifting, couldn't keep still. Why? Because Deontay wasn't some bitter ex or former enemy. He was someone who used to be on the inside, someone who saw it all and was finally telling the truth. He confirmed what Cassie had already testified to, that she lived in fear, that Diddy isolated her, and that nobody around her could fully protect her, not even him. And when the defense tried to spin it like Deontay didn't care, tried to say he left Cassie in that hotel room without a second thought, he hit back with a single, loaded line. I always did have concerns. He didn't need to raise his voice. He didn't need to cry. He didn't need to go off, because every word landed. And the jury? Oh, they were listening. This wasn't just testimony, it was confirmation, another piece in the puzzle, another insider who backed up Cassie's story with cold, clear truth. And the fact that he showed up, stayed composed, and called Diddy out without even breaking a sweat? Chef's kiss. If Diddy's team thought they were gonna rattle Deontay, they clearly forgot one thing. He's been dressing people for high-stakes events for years. And yesterday, he dressed the defense team in defeat. So what does this mean for the trial? Well, Mia's testimony alone is enough to bring down Diddy's whole empire. She wasn't just an accused assistant. She was part of the machine. And she's confirming what the prosecution's been building from day one. Diddy used Combs Global as a cover to run a criminal enterprise. That he used his staff, his security, his business infrastructure to isolate, control, traffic, and assault women. Mia's job wasn't to assist, it was to babysit Cassie, to make sure she didn't run, to cover up the blood, to help coordinate the lies. And with every word Mia said, you could see it on Diddy's face. He's cooked. Because this isn't just a domestic violence case anymore. This is RICO. This is forfeiture. This is decades of intimidation and corruption finally being dragged into the light. And it ain't over yet. Mia's coming back to the stand. The prosecution says they've got 2 more weeks of evidence. And if this is just what we're hearing now, imagine what's coming next. So, the question is, who else knew? Who else helped? Because this isn't just about one man. This is about the system that protected him, the celebrities who looked away, the employees who stayed silent, and the industry that let it slide. But right now, the silence is cracking, the truth is leaking, and the jury is watching it all. So keep your eyes open, your popcorn ready, and your prayers up for the survivors. 'Cause this trial, it's not just about Diddy anymore. But what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments and make sure you stick around for more.